All right. Oh, it started.
All right, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the April SLT meeting. I'm Mr. Wasatsky, I'm facilitating, and Dr. Haber will be our secretary this evening. Let's start out with our introduction and approval of February and March minutes. All right, we were all emailed the minutes.
Mr.
Does
Wasatsky,
anybody-
I need to make one correction for the March meeting. We need
Uh-huh.
to add Dr. Nedwick Moore was present in her role as an alternate.
Okay,
She was at
Correction
the attendant.
noted and will be added in.
Thank you.
all right. Are there any other corrections? No, does anybody want to move to approve the minutes?
I move.
I saw Henderson first, second. Ms. Chu, all in favor of approving the minutes? All right. Minutes approved. All right, let's move on to the principal's update. We just saved some time already. So go ahead. 15 minutes and
Great.
take a little.
Mr.
extra.
Wazowski, sorry, before you go on, I had a point relating to the minutes, if I could, just really quickly.
Sure.
It's not relating to approval, but
Sure.
we had this discussion at our last meeting. I just want to bring this point up for the future. I know for the past 2 years I've been on SLT, and certainly I think before then, for a long time, I think minutes have normally been like a couple page thing. And I know in our bylaws, we don't have any provisions about how the minutes should be taken, and it's not there. But I do think it helps with conciseness and with understanding the meeting for them to be, shorter. And normally, now that we're virtual, actually, we have the benefit of the transcript being available online through YouTube. And so I think it can help for the minutes to be more concise. So this seems like something that maybe it could help for there to be a consensus on the SLT about how we take minutes, because I know it's been a discussion for the past 2 meetings now. But I just wanted to bring that up because I think it helps when the minutes are less than 10 pages.
Did you want to have a brief discussion or maybe solicit some ideas we can put into the minutes now, and maybe a future agenda item can be streamlining the minutes for the future?
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be I think I think most of our minutes are normally, less than 5 pages. I just wanted to bring it up now. And I saw Ms. Davis as her hand raised.
Okay, yeah, Ms. Davis.
Yeah, so actually I did a little bit of research. So last either March or April, Governor Cuomo implemented Executive Order 202.1 that relates to the open meeting law. And I know Julian has been a very big proponent of us following the open meeting law. We've made a lot of changes this year such that we follow that. Part of that open meeting law is that I found in my research that the meeting will be transcribed. And so that was the source of my decision there. And Cuomo issued another order in April that all executive orders from 202 on continue until I think at least mid-May. And it seems he does this about every month. So I think for compliance at this point, I'm really glad you brought this up, Julian, because actually I think for compliance, technically they're supposed to be transcribed. So I would, that is what is available online. So if, I don't know what the SLT wants to say about it, but that's the information that I got.
Julia?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Davis. And as you know, I was a big proponent of that executive order because we're not following it for the majority of last year in terms of, recording our meetings and making them accessible to the public. I also, outside of the school leadership team, I take minutes for my community board, which is a government agency that also follows the open meetings law and all that. And our minutes format is not to do transcriptions, as is with all other community boards, and as has been directed to us by it. We take minutes as we normally have. What the amazing thing about the YouTube recording is that it automatically provides a transcription. So if anyone goes to the meeting recording link that we have to make accessible through the law, they can see the transcription already there. So I think we're already meeting that requirement. And so I think at least in my mind, the minutes purpose has always been to be streamlined. And that transcription is already accessible to anyone who needs access to it.
And maybe we can put in the minutes each time, transcription available with the link on it for somebody that might stumble across just the minutes, or in the future with in-person meetings, somebody comes and gets a physical copy of the minutes, they have a link where they can watch a video or hear recording or read a transcription. Maybe that's something we can do in the future. Ms. Davis, your hand up again.
Yes, it is. So I guess one question and then one comment. So you're saying that Julian, that if people go into Talos, or they can go on the meeting link, that the way that link is that they can see the transcript there. Question one. I don't know the answer to that. And then two, if we, on other boards that I've been in, also minutes are usually much more of a summary, not quotes, but I want us to consider also, if people are going to do a summary but then put in quotes, like, I don't know, I think maybe when we really do summaries, they should be summaries not having quotes in them with people's names. And so I guess part of me making the transcript made it very clear that if you take a quote, and the quote, it's going to be long, it's going to be 10 pages. So either you're going to do what you recommend, Julian, which is a summary, which is what most boards do, but I'd like us to try to stay away from the middle. Well, I'd like to hear what everyone else says instead of me saying, but that stay away from this middle part where, like, you put a name and you put something that looks like a quote. Even if you capture just a couple sentences, it still doesn't capture the whole thing, and you really should be summarizing, what motions are made, what was approved, what was not, and so on.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. To answer your first question about the transcription, if you go to the YouTube recording, which I believe are linked on Talos, you can click to open a transcription there. And I believe Ms. Ingram also put in chat that she can generate a transcription done by Zoom, which I think is probably a bit more accurate than YouTube's transcription. And that could also be posted if that's required to comply with the guidelines. And I completely agree with you in terms of the minutes. I think Dr. Haber is actually the best example of this, because as he's taking minutes today, he does a very good job of doing the executive summary thing, where it's not trying to do quotes, but it's very, very clear. So that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I think it might maybe offline we can set up, or there can be set up some guidelines for minute takers at SLT, because I know we're rotating. It can be hard to maintain the same sense of style.
I have been sending out an email the beginning of every week that we have SLT to all of the facilitators. All of you facilitators know you've received that from me, except for Eric today. Sorry, dude, I forgot. And SAT man. And we can generate one that I can start sending to all of the secretaries as well, to the extent that please make sure that there is an accurate record of attendance. Please, we're going to do summaries of discussions. We're going to not use names associated with quotes, instead just summarize points that are made in a discussion. And then perhaps we should agree to only include names if a motion is made. How does that sound to everybody? Moving forward, I will draft that with Principal Yu. We can work on that between now and May. And then Mr. Haber actually already talked about this with me today, so I think he's all set for tonight.
Okay, so the chair and the principal are going to discuss this and come out with a set of guidelines. Ms. Ho?
Yeah, so just wanted to chime in on from a legal perspective, just so that people know. The purpose of the minutes is really to give a high-level overview of what the actual meeting agenda and topics of discussion. It's not meant for the nitty-gritty of what's transpired word for word. So I think from a liability and other issues perspective, it's meant to be kept at a much higher level. I could appreciate, having done minutes, how long Ms. Daves has really taken to do these 18 pages, probably hours upon hours, and making it look this neat and organized. So just wanted to give that context and perspective that generally, from either a corporate standpoint or even in the general minutes taking perspective, I forget the name that Dina had. Dina definitely knows this name. The format that these minutes follow, they generally are not meant for them to be this specific. So just wanted to let people know that.
Okay. We can, all right. Somebody mentioned in the chat Robert's rules.
Thank you.
Right, so we can
That's
follow
it.
up on this some more later, and we'll let Ms. Maggio and Mr. Yu work on this on the side for now. Let's go back to the principal's update.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing well. So before we get started on the updates, just a quick shout out. I want to say thank you again to our Parents Association for Springfest. It was an amazing event. They put so much time, effort, and energy in it. And again, to be able to see the performances, see the opening video, and all of the, the auction, everything that, again, is in support of the school. They did such a tremendous job. So I want to give them a big shout out and a thank you. Particularly all the volunteers who spent countless hours trying to coordinate everything, which was great. Additionally, we recently sent out a letter to our senior families. We are working as hard as we can to try to make an in-person graduation happen. And through the generous support of our PA, our alumni, and the school itself, we're doing everything we can to make this happen. We're hoping that we are able to have an in-person graduation because this will be a great send-off for our class of 2021. We're continuing to give you updates, and Mr. Palazzo has done a really extraordinary job of trying to find different ways to ensure that again we can see if this can work. But we'll do everything we can, and just wanted to put that out there. I know there's a lot of information going out around the end of this year, so we wanted to I wanted to just make sure I highlighted that. The first two announcements are around SAT and AP, and I want to hand it over to Dr. Haber, who has been leading our effort in this, and so I want to hand it over to him quickly.
Thank you, Principal Yu. And I want to say that I'm immensely proud of what we've done at Stuyvesant in terms of this, the SAT administration. In January, all of us are disappointed with the cancellation of the PSAT administration. And, students and parents wanted very much, and we wanted very much to provide SAT. And the way we did this is by dividing it into 3 different administrations so that we can maintain social distancing and still follow all the rules of the College Board. And that's what we did. Today was the 3rd of the 3 and was the smoothest of all. It was the smoothest of all. Overall, we over 650 juniors took the SAT in throughout the 3 sessions, and that's wonderful. I also want to say that the faculty rallied. The faculty rallied. It had a 98% attendance of faculty members at the SATs at the 3 administration. 98%. It's outstanding, and I want to mention that the scores will come out. The scores for today's test will be available by May 19th, and the ones that we took on the SAT we took on the April 13th will be available by May 4th, although many people have already received those already. Let me know if there's any issues. We been able to resolve any problem. A couple of parents wrote in. We've been able to resolve any issues in obtaining the SATs, and I will say we don't expect any problems with this administration. There were 0 irregularities throughout the 3 testings, which is something to be proud of. In terms of why it was so important was many of the students and parents wanted to apply for the National Merit Scholarship, and they are able to use the SATs scores from this March and April administration for that purpose. And for that, I'm pleased. We had, the PA, we had meetings with lots of people how to do this. And was there trepidation at the beginning? Sure. But with proper planning and execution and the support of all, we made it work. And next time, of course, will be, hopefully we give the SAT we expect to give it under normal conditions and not under the COVID rules. As far as the next topic, as soon as I, fall asleep tonight, then I wake up tomorrow, it's AP. Everything turns to AP. And actually, AP planning or advanced placement planning is year-round planning. It's throughout the year we do AP planning, and we've done quite a bit thus far, but it'll become more intense now. In the planning, we have the advanced placement exams will run from May 4th through June 11th. Most of the exams, the majority of the examinations, students will take at home digitally. They'll take them at 12 noon or at 4 p.m. And this is different than what you're maybe used to. You take them in the morning or early afternoon. And then the reason is that the College Board will be administering these examinations at the same time around throughout the country and actually throughout the world. So it's 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. for those exams that you will be taking at home. The world language examinations will be taken at Stuyvesant High School. The first one is on May 4th. And we'll begin at 8 o'clock. We'll have the students come in earlier than 8. This exam will be pen and paper, although there is a component of using computers and so that they can record their speeches in the language of choice. The first one is German. I want to make sure that everyone knows that they must download, everyone who's taking a College Board AP exam must download the software that they received. This was out more than a week ago from the College Board. Everyone must download it, should download it. If you haven't done so already, download it now. Parents, students, make sure that you download it and that it works, and then you know that you'll be able to take those exams. In the case that you find that your device is just not compatible, something's not working, you're not able to download the College Board software, let me know immediately. College Board has been gracious in that they've made arrangements whereas we can obtain devices for those who don't have a device which is compatible with the examinations, and it would be picked up at school and then returned to school after the examinations. The AP examination scores do not affect grades, and in fact, the scores come out in July every year, and that will be the same this year. So that's my report for SAT and AP.
Thanks, Dr. Haber. Just a few other additional notes. Again, really proud of the effort that the entire school community put forth for the SAT. We had been talking about this since August of last year, and really trying to think about PSAT, which then again led to having the 3 administrations of the SAT. It really was an extraordinary effort. We only usually get 1 shot at it. This year we got 3. And really there was a rally cry around getting as many people to support these efforts. It's been such a sight to see all our juniors come in, and then when they leave, they're still smiling, which is nice. And at the end of all of this, it's 1 examination. We just ask our students to do their very best, and then there's always additional dates as necessary. But if there's anything to be said, I hope our juniors are really proud of themselves. They're doing this under extraordinary circumstances, and to see their smiles and for them to come in to take this exam, I think is amazing. And to have as many students as we did, this is an opportunity that we're ensuring that students are taking the SAT, and that took a lot of effort from the staff. So really just an amazing job. And then just for the AP exams, as Dr. Haber said it, we go from SAT to AP. There's a lot of work that has to be done, and a lot of it will fall on our families, meaning that we really are encouraging, please check your devices, make sure you test it, because if you don't have a device, we need to know that now so that we can get you one and you can be ready to go during that window. The last thing that I want to make sure I stress is this. The College Board did 3 different windows in order for us to think about the different dates. So if a student is not able to take that exam on that date that they are assigned, there will not be a makeup because of the 3 different windows that the College Board put forth. So again, we want to make sure, A, you have your equipment and device ready, and then 2, we're going to do everything you can to stay healthy, because those examinations will take place on those dates, and that's what we're planning for. So again, we're going to continue to give you updates and try to maintain as much of a routine as possible so that, again, you can put forth your very best. And again, that's all we ask of anyone. All right. So we go from SAT to advanced placement, and then we're talking quickly about finals and regents. One of the things that recently came out for us was the regent schedule. Now, I'm just going to give you the 3 dates. We're going to give you all this. We have a write-ups that we'll share afterwards with all the key information. But 3 dates that we have scheduled so far is June 17th, which is a Thursday, which will be our English, our ELA examination. June 22nd, which is a Tuesday, which will be our living environment. and June 23rd, which is a Wednesday, which is our Algebra 1. We've already made our orders. These are the dates that the state has put out for regents. And we want to make sure that we're getting more guidance. All the days that were part of the original Regents Week that are no longer having any exams are expected to be instructional days, attendance days. We'll give you more insights about what that week will look like, because we're going to be finalizing our uniform finals and putting them in those dates that are currently don't have any Regents exams. And then also, just to quickly note, June 18th is also a regular day of instruction. The state put out information that that would be a holiday, but based upon certain laws, that only applies when June 19th occurs on any day, Sunday through Friday, and not in years when it occurs on Saturday. So this year it's a regular day of instruction. So I know we have it on our calendar as I think we preliminary might have had it as a holiday, but it is a regular instructional day, and we're going to make some tweaks to our spring calendar. The other thing that came up around this was also finals week. We want to just make sure that we're putting information out. So 2 departments of ours are going to be doing some finals, some uniform finals. Will be in math. It will be our geometry, algebra 2, and pre-calculus. The dates are TBD at this point. We're going to be putting them in, looking at the Regents week kind of schedule so that we can fit them in. And then also levels 1 through 3 in world languages and music appreciation will also have a final. The other departments will not have a uniform final during kind of those weeks. So want to put that out there, and this will also be in our updated spring calendar. All right, quickly moving on. I know we're going from a lot of things of trying to get everything done. The CEP for 21-22 is already upon us. We're being asked to take a look at that, and I know there's a lot of work to be done. Just some key dates for everyone to be aware of. One is they're asking us to put some SMART goals in for next year in May. So we're gonna have to follow up with all of you to talk about some of the key categories there. June 15th, June, and then by June 30th, they want us to have our preliminary CEP for the 21-22 school year. I try to go on to where it's the iPlan, and so again, some of that is still getting updated, but there's some things that we'll need to do in the May SLT meeting to talk about 21-22, and hopefully we'll have more information to actually be able to make some key decisions there. All right. And then finally, for my last update is we recently sent notice to all our families. We sent it also to our staff about our interim acting assistant principal of teacher development and support and data systems. I announced that Mimi Prabhu, who is one of our teacher leaders, is going to be serving in an interim acting role for that position, started on Monday. Again, after seeing all the things that I have seen and looking at ways that we want to support our instruction, I felt this position would be really important. It's not a supervisory role, right now. It's around providing collaborative support to our teachers and really thinking about pedagogy, instruction. It's really thinking about what are the different dynamics that we're going to have to consider in terms of remote, blended, hybrid, all of the things that just are good, strong practices, regardless of what medium it's in. And again, this is a role in really leading this effort, not only for the summer, but clearly for the next school year. I'm really excited. Ms. Prabhu's been working with our teachers, particularly those who have been going through the process of completion of probation. And again, I think her efforts, along with all of our staff, it's been impressive. So really excited about this. But it is an interim acting role. And what will happen starting on May 3rd is that there will be a posting for the role. The posting will be up till I think May 17th. We will follow all C30 processes and rules and regulations. And so I will be reaching out to all of you around forming a C30 committee so that we can then form the committee and then go through the process. And again, more information will be on the assistant principal page on the DOE, which we'll also send out. But really excited about this role, excited about Mimi serving as interim acting we're asking everyone who's interested to apply. I hope Ms. Prabhu will also apply as well. And again, we'll go through the C30 process and all of this. All right. All right, Mr. Versace, did I
Right.
get done with
That was excellent. That was that literally to the second. Very good. So, okay. So, I mean, if you needed more, I was going to ask for consensus to extend, but it sounds like you ran right to the wire and got it all in. So thank you, Principal Yu. Let's move on to, we have 30 minutes allocated to discuss summer and fall planning. So is this Principal Yu
Yeah.
summarizing?
So,
Let's go back
yeah.
to you.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Let's see. All right. Can everyone see this? Okay. So I'm going to run through just some things around what they're calling summarizing or the summer programming for this year. I want to give everyone a broad overview of somewhat of the timeline that we understand and some of the important considerations that we're having to review in order to plan for this summer. And I think it's really important just so that everyone has some ideas. Again, I welcome questions and conversation. We're very early in our stage of the planning, and I want to be very upfront about this. I think the Department of Education is trying to create a comprehensive program, for students, for this summer. And again, I think, they're giving us guidance as we get closer in. And so we're trying to make as much sense of it as we can, and really thinking about a number of different considerations that we have to, plan for. So let me just kind of give you a quick rundown of the timeline, and then just some really key things that are top of our mind, and really ways that you can be involved. And we are going to ask anyone and everyone who is willing to support this effort to help us. Again, I think we're at a really interesting place where both we're all excited potentially about the summer next year, but we're also very fatigued. And so again, it's going to require a big rally as well. And so hopefully those who are able to lend a hand will do so. So timeline is we've been getting updates recently, and so we had an initial planning meeting with some of our key administrators, primarily the ones who worked 12 months, Dr. Haber, in this case, Mr. Grossman, and then other folks who have played a role in previous summers, from Ms. Pedrick to Ms. Ingram, and we're going to continue to add more folks for this summer planning. But we started that this past last week. We're going to continue to meet again to then start creating some different work groups. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that tonight, and just again some of the things that you can see or where you might be able to express some interest. The other thing is the summer program is going to take place in the Stuyvesant building. We will be one of the school sites, and there are other school sites that are going to be affiliated with the building. So we are doing outreach with them, and again, confirming that they will be here, because we're going to have to all continue to lean on each other to make sure that we have a great summer program. Additionally, this is going to be a big pool, and so we're going to need as much staff as we can. So we've already put out some preliminary surveys around interest, who might be willing to plan, who might be willing to work. And again, this will be really contingent upon the staffing that we can get, both from our internal staff, and then any volunteers and any other kind of ways that we can get staffing to make sure we can run the types of programs. Just a few other things around this, just so that you're aware. April, end of April, lots of May, and then all the way through June, there are going to be a variety of things that we're going to have to do while we're also trying to finish out this school year. So, please bear with us as we're trying to juggle in parallel both of these kind of endeavors. And so you can see some of the key things, particularly around communication. So not only will you get communication about closing out this year, you're going to get communication around what's going to happen this summer and ways in which you might be able to participate. And then clearly using the summer as ways of learning so that we can also plan in parallel for the fall. A lot of what we're waiting for as well is more guidance, as well as what our summer school budget will be. And so we're not expected to get that until May. So many of our conversations will, be planning, and with the hope that the funding will also be there. And again, we want to make sure that we have everything that we need to be able to run a very comprehensive summer program. Um, Tentative dates that the Department of Education has put out, and again, I think we'll have a little bit of flexibility on this, is July 1st, and the 2nd is going to be kind of a transition / professional development dates for staff. And then the anticipated program is from July 6th through August 13th. There will not be any August regents, and so there's one less worry that we have to consider. But again, they're looking at a few weeks so that we can use this as an opportunity to help in part for the transition for the next school year, but also being ways to engage young people during the summer. In the past, we've used a Monday through Thursday, kind of 8 to 2:45 time frame where we had longer periods. Again, this is all TBD, but I want to just at least put that out there of what we've had in the past. All right, so let me talk a little bit about some of the considerations that we've been discussing and the things that are all kind of coming together and really what we're looking at. So the intent from what we've learned about the summer is that it's intended to be comprehensive, whether that's an academic element to it, whether it's acceleration, whether it is around community building and social emotional. It's pretty wide open. And so again, it's hard to determine exactly what we can do without understanding exactly what our funding is to be able to do this. But in the interim, we still need a plan for all the different pieces that we've had in the past and that we want to be inclusive for this year. So a few things just to take in consideration. One, the expectations that everything is going to be in person. So, I think the Department of Ed might put some element of remote in there, but the expectation is that this is supposed to be in part a transition for the new school year. So expectations that this will be in person. Part of our academic program that we're having to take a look at is, again, we've had several students who have course in progress that need to resolve those. So that might proceed into the summer and or any terms of course credit accumulation that we'll have to look at. So students who really need those credits in order to graduate will clearly be prioritized. And that's something that will be a major component of the program as it traditionally has been. There's another element around acceleration. So the Department of Education's partnership with CUNY, they've been able to look at College Now, which again also earns college credit and it's an accelerated piece to it as well. We're supposed to get more details about availability and what this might mean for students who might be interested in taking a College Now course. I know we have connections as well, and so we're waiting for more guidance because if that's the case, then those would be offsite at those particular college sites. And then in the past, we've also run a health course, and that's also something that we're going to take a look at. Again, part of this was some of the shifts that we were making in our programming, but we need to take a look at health as well and see whether or not it makes a right fit. And it could be a really good fit because of all the things that are happening from social, emotional, and well-being. So in addition to the academic program is also anything enrichment supplemental. And again, these are things, sorry, can everyone hear me? Okay, these are things that have, been included, but maybe not as such a focal point as it will be, I think, this year. But we want to really think about different ways to ensure that we have enrichment activities, supplemental activities that are really going to be focused on community building. We're still waiting on word about what's going to happen with PSAL, but we want to make sure that that's included in anything that we do from an academic standpoint, but also just, I think students will need some bridge around either getting more familiarity with the school or the building itself, but also trying to find connections. And this is where I think we could be really creative. So I know many of our parents have done these meetups, in different boroughs. We're going to explore all those different options, and I think the volunteer support will be really critical. We want to think about field trips, clearly following all safety and protocols, but any ways that we can really build in some different activities and events or ways that again are going to help students get kind of re-engaged and connected with students, other students and staff. Additionally, our discovery program, I think it's going to be an important piece. We've been doing that, the past few summers. We want to continue that. And, again, we want to embed that more into an overall comprehensive program. So some of those students will be able to get much more acquaintance with our current students. And then lastly, really want to think about parent-family workshops. Again, this has been a really tremendous, challenging year for students and staff, but it's also been the case for families. So working with Ms. Ingram to really consider what are the different workshops that we might be able to have. And clearly, we have a lot of great parents who could also lead some of these sessions. So we really want to think about that. So again, a very comprehensive program in what we may be able to do or what we would ideally like to do. All right, let me just move on to the last few pieces and then we'll jump into any conversations. Again, all of the things that we've had to consider for this past year will continue to take place around safety, security, and space. Again, we've got this added dimension of additional schools being here. We've got, again, factors around what any guidance may be from the CDC that then trickles down to the Department of Education. We don't know about the social distancing. We don't know about any of these just yet. So that could influence, how we set everything up. But we will continue to follow those protocols and continue to update accordingly. Additionally, budget and staffing, as I mentioned before, we won't know that until our FY22 budget comes out, and that's not expected until late May. What we are going to be doing is already trying to recruit both from a planning perspective and then an execution/implementation. So we've already put some feelers out for those staff who would be willing to help us think about the planning. Again, we're going to do the outreach for our students as well as our families because we're going to need as many different perspectives and ways of support around both the planning and of course, the actual implementation. And then we're going to consider, again, other avenues, including the teaching fellows. We just got word that, they're asking for different sites to serve as kind of hubs for new teachers where they could learn. And this might be, an opportunity to, again, get additional staffing so that we have enough support from an adult perspective, to be able to supervise. And then again, if we're able to get families and student volunteers, that would be extraordinary. And then lastly around this is all the communication. So as I said before, we're trying to create parallel communication with closing out all the things that we need to do for this year, while also being very mindful that you're going to need information about how to get involved and what to expect for the summer, and really thinking about ways to both have the two-way street where we're sending out and then we're also receiving information and or interest from students and families about what, and how they can participate. So we're going to put a timeline out as well and kind of in different ways of our modes of communication, whether, it's again, whether it's via email or whether there'll be a meeting and or town halls. Those are all the things that we have to consider as we're putting out information so that, again, we can make sure we're targeting the stakeholders in ways that we can continue to recruit and get as much feedback and support as we can. All right, I know I threw a lot at you. This is going to come your way anyway, so you'll get all of this, but just want to put that out there in terms of answering any questions or any other considerations that you think we need to have. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing. Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henderson.
Oh, sorry.
I think the idea of having our students in the building over the summer is great. So I'm really glad that we're working on this. I'm curious if we have a sense of, okay, well, here's my selfish question. I have a lot of like childcare responsibilities over the summer, but maybe half the summer. Is there a way that we could have teachers come in or be part of it for, a week or two, say like all the English teachers come in for a particular week, rather than all the teachers there all the time?
Yeah, I think so. We've already, Mr. Grossman, he brought that up. I think we're going to have to consider those options because, the way I look at it is this. Ideally, we would have staff from Stuyvesant be able to participate. And so we want to be mindful too about, this is also the time where everyone needs to kind of refresh. So we will be looking at all the different flexibilities, particularly in light of that it's more than just the traditional academic. There are other elements that need to be involved. And again, I think we want to be in the spirit of, it seems that there's going to be some flexibilities here from the Department of Ed. So we want to take advantage of that. And we really want to think about ways in which we can think about a variety of stakeholders who might need different types of things. And so we will be looking closely at whether it might be in, like, weeks or 2 weeks, just because we know people are also going to be taking vacation and need a break as well.
Any other questions about summarizing? Okay. Anything else in here? You still have 14 minutes left. Any more about
Okay.
the fall?
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay. So this is similar in light as well. I mean, and I want to put something out there. I know most of us are thinking about the fall, but before we can do that, we've got to think about the summer. And so I think what's really critical about the summer is that there's going to be a lot of learning here. And what I anticipate, and I'm speculating here, but I anticipate the Department of Education really wants to use the summer as a transition, as well as, like, what are all the learnings that we're going to get to then ideally translate for the fall. That would be my hope, and I think that's the case. The expectation that we have gotten, and at least through the words of in press conferences, is that we're trying to look at a full reopening. So let me just tell you some of our key assumptions that we're making here, based upon what we believe and what we've heard. And what I want to point out is, I think, schools are trying to communicate what they know and maybe even what they don't know, with their stakeholders and with their community. And what's the challenge is that everyone's hearing different things. And so part of what we have to also be patient on is, unless it's coming from the mayor or unless it's coming from the Department of Education, then a lot of it is still speculation. And even, when the mayor may even make the announcement, until it comes fully fleshed to us through the Department of Education, we won't know those details. But I know there's a lot of anxiety. We all feel it. We're all trying to prepare for what we can, and I think we're doing all the right steps. But there are some key assumptions that we're going to make, and then, as we get closer in, the goal is to stay as close communication about what we know and even what we don't know, and to be focused on our community. Every community is going to be doing their own kind of needs assessment. They'll do their own kind of ways of communicating and things that are priority for them. And, I think one of the things that I'm going to continue to ask is for us to stay focused on Stuyvesant. We've done things a little bit differently. We've done things that felt were in the best interest of the school, and our community. And so it's going to vary, and we're going to see that all across the city in the summer, and I imagine most likely in the fall. So a few things. One, we're assuming that there's going to be a full reopening. What we have to anticipate is that we need some contingencies for a hybrid model, which again would potentially include in-person and remote. The goal and the hope is that as we're getting closer in over the next 6 months, that things will improve, more vaccinations will happen. We'll find out more details about, again, staff medical accommodations and what's going to be kind of the guidance on that, because again, we need to have a better sense of what our staffing will be to better determine exactly what we can and can't do. And I will say this, our staffing and our staff have done a tremendous job. They have their families as well, and so, we want to do everything we can to make sure that everyone is in a position to do their very best work. And the hope, and after my conversations with our staff, people want to be back, and we're going to do everything we can to do that. We do not know anything about vaccination requirements for students or staff. The hope, though, is that as vaccinations or the vaccine becomes more available, people will take advantage of it, so that just in their own kind of peace of mind can feel comfortable, because it's going to be important that the more people that do feel comfortable coming into the building, I do think it will build some momentum with that. Uh, Anticipating COVID protocols will still be in place, mask, all the things that we have, hand sanitizers, all the different precautions we're already taking. Key thing will be about the distancing guidelines, whether it'll be 6 feet, 3 feet, and then how that 3 feet or 6 feet is determined. That will determine a lot of around how many people can be in the building at any given time. So we're going to keep a close eye on that, and I imagine the summer will give us some insights. The other thing, which I know people, I think most of us wish would have happened sooner, is we probably will continue to get ongoing updates from July through September. And so as much as, we want to put out more concrete responses, it will be hard for us to do that until we get more guidance. And trust me, these are conversations that are happening on the principal level, they're happening on the teacher level, they're happening on every level. Everyone's trying to find out what piece of information might be, kind of concrete, but I think that's what's going to happen. And so we're going to plan as much as we can while also having to adjust as necessary. And then I think a really important piece here is this, and we talked about this at the SAT or administering the SAT. The SAT was also in some ways an opportunity to bring in larger numbers of students and larger numbers of staff. And the more that we can do some version of that in a safe manner, and being able to continue to follow as many protocols as we can, I think it's going to help in our transition. We have to be really mindful about what this is going to look like as we're going in, ending this year to the summer to the fall. We are very aware that many folks have not left their homes, either as of COVID or for other incidents, including anti-Asian, all of the different things that we're going to have to account for. And we're going to do our very best to try to account for those, and figure out how we can build that in the summer while also thinking about the transition. But we do know that even when we start school, we're going to need to think about how to best maximize September, because I imagine we're going to start normally like we usually do, right after Labor Day, soon thereafter Labor Day. That's kind of what we're anticipating. And then thinking about how the month of September could be used in a very strategic way, because we do tend to have many of the holidays that take place. And so it's a very abbreviated month, but is there a way that we can help both students and staff get reacclimated into a space that they have not been in a while? All right. All right. So again, some key considerations as well that I want to quickly review. We have already started putting out course selection, so students will receive their AP course preferences. I want to be very clear here. In order for us to start doing the planning, we had to follow our similar timeline, and so we're putting out our course selection. And again, there's still a lot of contingencies here, but we need to move forward. We sent that out to students, and again, I am not ready to disband advanced placement courses. We want to make sure that we're really thinking about what is right for our school, and I think we're in a very tough year, and I want to make sure that our courses are still available. So we're putting out those preferences, and we're asking students to look at both the AP courses, and then soon thereafter will be elective courses. All of this is around preferences. So just remember that. This is around getting a better understanding of what students are interested in terms of their courses. So again, there's a lot of work that has to happen at the end of this year, summer, in preparation for this. So want to be very clear. We're trying to offer our as many courses as what we traditionally have, but we'll give more updates as we get more information, particularly around budget and staffing. The other thing here too around our programming is we know we need to build in more social, emotional, mental health, well-being aspects. And so again, we're looking at potentially working and partnering with different organizations, as well as looking at different ways of support for our students and staff here, and building that into more of our courses, as well as different activities that we may have throughout the year. And then the last two things around program, which I think are really important. We've got to prioritize the class of 2022. They will be the next in line to try to graduate. And so we want to make sure that they're, prioritized, while also being very mindful of all of our underclassmen who are also progressing towards their graduation requirements. We need to look at best making sure that they are positioned to earn those credits, to take the courses that they that will allow them to meet their graduation requirements, and also being able to find where they're interested in. So key pieces which we're working on this year and we'll continue to work on throughout the summer in order to finalize for our final programming. Uh, the two other key things that I want to say before we'll open it up. Budget and staffing, again, good signs have been pointing that schools are going to be held harmless, that fair student funding, again, schools are going to be given 100%. But until we see our budget, we won't know that fully. The mayor did have his preliminary budget out, and there were certain cuts in certain buckets, which will have an impact on schools. So these kind of additional allocations that schools receive, which really supplement and complement everything that a school is able to do. That will also be key when we look at our overall budget, but that will also impact our staffing, and it will also impact any additional resources. Fortunately, we're trying to make sure we get everything we need to get and use for this year. And so again, just having enough to be able to make sure that when we are going into our new year, that we'll be fiscally responsible and have the funding and support to do that. And thank goodness for the support of our parent association and our alumni. Again, these are ways that we're very fortunate to have. And then professional development, again, I made mention about the designation of Ms. Prabhu as interim acting assistant principal on this. Professional development will be a really critical piece, really trying to focus on a few things from our culturally responsive pedagogy. We've been doing more of this. We've been having lots of great conversations on our equity work, really having us think about challenging conversations and issues while also bringing that from what we're seeing socially. I think our teachers are really wanting to make sure that they're bringing real world issues into their curriculum, and also finding the ways to do that in a very instructive and constructive way, particularly on topics that are challenging. And so we want to make sure that our staff continues to develop that skill set and that experience through some of the professional development. And this will be happening throughout the year as well. And also the social and emotional, it's not easy always building those connections. And so we really need to think about what are ways that we can hear student voice. We can also kind of really cultivate those conversations and relationship building from staff between adults and students. And so the social emotional learning element will also be really key. And then the last two is just around data use and leadership. I've said this in some previous meetings and in my letter. We have to keep a close eye on our data. And while we have some really great performances from our students, it's a tough 4 years, and we need to think about ways that we're finding who needs maybe additional support or other supports, and identifying those students and then finding the support and interventions that will help them. And then lastly, around the leadership, again, I think we've got a really talented staff. We really need to think about how we're continuing to develop them as leaders, and finding the different supports that will continue to help them flourish and do the types of work that again will continue to make our school that much better. I won't go into the safety, security, and space. Again, same things that I said for the summer. The only other thing that I would say around the space is a lot of renovation work that's going to be taking place this summer, end of year and summer. So ideally, our theater, our robotics lab, escalators will be all ready to go at the start of fall. And there's going to be work on our hydroponic lab, which will not most likely be done for the fall, but we're moving, and this is all good signs that that the building itself, from the physical standpoint, will be hopefully ready to go with some of the new spaces. All right, so other considerations or questions?
We still have almost 2 minutes if somebody has any questions.
You can tell it's the spring, everyone's ready.
Okay, all right, then we can move on to the next thing. Thank you, Principal Yu.
I think I go again next.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at commitments to prioritize student well-being document.
Okay.
We have 20 minutes allocated for that, and Principal Yu.
Okay. So I had made mention around our commitments document, and wanting to make it public, which we're going to do. I wanted just to share a little bit about some of the things in which, I'm envisioning of how we use the document. Would love to get some feedback on this, as well as some thoughts around ways that we're going to continue to work on. That's right. And you put the student well-being and mental health. So one is this, we've done a lot of surveys. We've done quite a few. We've had lots of conversations about this. I know how important this is, for the well-being of our students. We want them to be healthy, productive young people, not only in academics, but in every aspect of their life. And that's one of the best things about Stuyvesant is that there's so many different ways to showcase that and to be involved. And we really want to continue to stress that. It's been a hard year because it hasn't been traditionally what it has been, where again, students are able to make those connections, able to participate with one another. And if, our SATs are any indicators, like we have to make sure students are being socially distanced. They miss each other and it's clear of that. And so really thinking about how we can continue to support these efforts. So we've been in touch with a few organizations, which we're going to need to kind of continue to see how they could potentially partner with us. There's a group that does specifically work on surveys for both students and staff. And again, and this is not to diminish or to, any of the surveys that have been, that the students have done, parents have done, staff have done. I mean, like those are all key pieces of information that we need to use. This particular group, Authentic Connections, which was referred to me, from our social worker, does this particularly for high achieving schools. And what they do is they really think about the ways in which, what are the things that are in our control, that again could be the levers for change. And after getting all the data kind of analysis, they piece together recommendations that in theory doesn't require us to go find another organization, but what are the kind of the levers in the school that we have control over. So I'm really interested in them. I want to share what they sent to me to all of you so that you can take a look. I think that would be something that if we were considering, that we would do near the end of the year so that we can have some of this key information in preparation for the next school year, but ways that we can kind of unfold. And this is not meant to be a one-time thing. The survey is meant to be over time as well, to kind of see what the growth and or what's happened over the course from one survey to the next. Another group is Counseling in Schools, which we had a great conversation, Ms. Pedrick and I and Ms. Chuck Goldman, with their executive director, and really thinking about the ways that their organization could support Stuyvesant. A lot of it is involving an additional staff member who would bring their expertise in working with the school and different considerations around additional resources that again their organization could connect us to. But essentially it's another way to get insights from a third party, but who's also in the school working with us, and then trying to bring in additional resources that they have access to. I think those are all really strong possibilities. And again, I think we're having to re-examine going from a year where we just have not seen each other, and figuring out what are the ways that we support students, not only the students who need perhaps additional supports that are much deeper in terms of services, but also the general population of students who are just again don't necessarily feel connected to an adult or to other students or to the school itself, and we really want to think about that. So those are all conversations that we want to start putting in motion, because again, we want to really think about how we can get the information and giving us real kind of concrete steps. But with that is this document, and this is something that we do have control over, which I'm really proud of. We want to again make it public. I think it's already on Telos. We want to make sure it's much more visible on Telos so that you can see the document itself, and again the commitments that different stakeholders or different constituent groups have put forth. It's meant to be a fluid document. It's meant to be conversation pieces for when we're planning for the summer, when we're planning for the year, and as we're planning for the end of this year. It's meant to be a way to guide us in having really pointed conversations about ways in which all of us are trying to make adjustments to creating a better and really productive environment. So we're going to use this as that. We're going to put it out on Talos May 3rd. We want to, again, it's a fluid document, so we're going to ask for feedback as well. We're going to continue to use it during our meetings. We're going to ask students to take a look. And again, part of what we want to make sure of is that there can be some productive conversations. The more open we can be and having conversations using this as one common understanding as well as ways of talking. I'm hoping it can provide the language to have some really fruitful conversations, and again, using this as ways for departments, for our guidance, for our administration, for our student union, our PA, to really think about ways in which we can bring all of this together and continue this focus on well-being. And it is, while I say it's students, it's also staff too, because staff have been going through quite a bit, and what happens, with them clearly translates to what may happen in the classroom. So we've really got to be mindful about this parallel kind of support that, again, not only for students, but also for staff as we're moving forward through this. So
All right.
questions or
Questions about this? Was it? Okay.
Is everyone mic working? This is
Yeah.
this is the first time. Okay.
This thing on. Okay. I guess about this or the document itself. No questions. Okay. We can move on to the next. Stump to the panel. Okay. We'll move on to after school activities discussion, where we allocated 10 minutes, but we haven't
I'm not
used
sure
all
who
of our-
brought that up, so I don't think I'm more than happy to answer any questions around that, but I don't know that. I don't think that's me. I don't know if that's. Are there any questions around extra or after school activities?
Ms. Maggio, do you have written down who brought that to the put that on the agenda?
The PA, the Parents Association, had wanted to know about whether or not there were plans again for after school.
Okay.
But I think you covered a big part of that with the principals.
Yeah. I'll just quickly say this: PSALs is happening now. That's been our primary focus, to try to get those up and running. And again, trying to get as many staff members who've been gracious to and awesome about trying to even get certified and take on those roles. That's our primary focus right now, because there are clear kind of guidelines around how we support that effort. Mr. Moran and I are talking about if there are other opportunities for other extracurricular. The issue comes back to, again, supervision and really thinking about how we can support that. Because if we say yes to one, it's going to be hard to say yes or say no to anyone else. And I imagine those are going to continue to happen. So we really got to be mindful about that. So right now, our current priority is let's get PSAL started, up and running. Make sure that our coaches and our student athletes have everything they need for it to run successfully and fluidly. And as we're going through May and with the new group of blended students, we want to make sure we're concentrating on that group as well and trying to make sure everything is ready to go continuing to continue to run smoothly. We will come back to that if we think that we might be able to offer it. But at this point, it's only for PSAL.
Okay, and all right, no other discussion about that. Do we go to observer comments? And if, hold on a second.
So you
We'll go to observer comments.
Yeah, you
And then if anybody has anything they want to bring up, since we saved a lot of time tonight,
Yes, I am. I'm still here. Observer comments, yay.
Okay,
So your first one is Amanda Atlas, and they can unmute. They're here.
Hi there. I didn't actually have a comment, but since I have the floor, I just want to say what a fantastic job Stuyvesant has done in this very difficult year. And it's in stark comparison to some of our sister schools. So since you can't even see me and you can hear me, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. That was
Heart
really
emoji.
nice.
yeah, that is nice.
Your
Um,
commenter is Patty Carey Parazzo. She can also unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have a comment either. I had just asked for an update on the reopening, and thank you so much. You already gave all the information.
Okay, were they the only commenters, Ms. Ingram?
Yes, those were the only two who signed up.
Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to bring up tonight?
Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the beautiful weather this week. It is going to be lovely outside. Please go to the park, go for a walk, go enjoy some nature. Yes, with your masks on though, and social distance, just saying.
And that comes directly from the chair, so we have to follow.
Everybody else, we will see you in May.
Are
I
you
can
making
hear
a
that you're so
motion,
happy.
Maggio?
Good night.
Bye.
You're
Bye,
so happy.
everyone.
I can hear that from you, just your voice.
I mean, you
Motion
guys are the best
adjourned.
SLT ever. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, good night.
Bye, everybody.